Flowers, aren't they fascinating things? And why they are mentioned here is this album called Bloem by Dutch band Fluisteraars. No idea how to pronounce Dutch, but here goes. Now, what do flowers have to do with black metal? I don't know, but once upon a time, Dark Throne sang about flowers to flowers to burn, flowers to step on, and I think there is some strong analog to that. Also, actually, with this album and CD being right here, the band has mentioned that, at least what the promo letter says, that these flowers here resemble, as a symbol of sorts, the kind of energy what these all within these plants, they just come to life and bloom, but they also decay, dry and decay and die. Very strong image if you think about that, but to be honest, would I be blindly that is going to a traditional record store? Would I just blindly pick up, hey, this album is so cool cover, I will pick up this flowery album for my record collection? Not so much. So it's a kind of a strong image, but it's also at the same time very, very confusing and maybe a little bit misleading also. So interesting message is kind of lost a little bit here in translation. But this explanation actually makes a lot of sense to me and as such accepted. I kind of think it's nice, though I would never put an album out with that kind of a name that is among black metal. But that's beside the point. Let's focus on the music and the brief history of the band. So as you can see, probably this was founded in 2009, Netherlands, and now 3 albums out. As you can see, a couple of other releases also, which makes this band somewhat experienced already. Now, being a 2-man band, this is an interesting case of a black metal thing, because the album what we have here is actually something which I would rather describe as a kind of a light version of black metal. Now, don't get overexcited and over enthusiastic about this way of describing. I'm trying to explain what I mean by that. Now, we all know that black metal is quite a versatile type of genre, which also at the same time can be the most raw, most violent, most aggressive kind of a music, very barbaric, blah blah blah. And at the same time it can be really beautiful, soothing and all that stuff. And between these extremities you will find bands like Burzum going all the atmosphere and then again a little bit rawish. But also bands that are all about this kind of a violent war metal stuff and, coming onto you like a Panzerwagen. On the other side, the other extreme, there are albums such as this, which is almost rather a beautiful release, being almost like post-black metal thing versus the more traditional black metal stuff. This is not really a sinister album, it's not a dark album, it's not album filled with violence and all that stuff, but rather melancholy, melodics, and kind of a beautiful. Now, so many albums in the black metal scene, especially if we're talking about kind of atmospheric stuff, have this kind of a feeling that they are related to autumn or winter, being kind of dark and depressive and all that stuff. And this is definitely an album that I would say it's a spring album. And this album cover actually kind of underlines the thing here. I mean, if you just look at the flowers here, not the maybe prettiest one and not maybe the nature image of the or photo of the year, but still I think it kind of underlines the feeling what is here during these, within these songs of this album, because like I said, it's quite beautiful. It's very, very melodic, and even though there are blast beat parts, I think it's kind of underlining the very emotion here when it kind of slows down and dives deep into these melodic parts, which then again kind of paint this rather spring-like or even summery feeling. And at first I was a little bit like, okay, maybe this is a little bit too melodic, maybe this is almost like too happy, but then again you realize it's not all about this happiness. It's not so happy as it kind of suggests first, but it's more about this kind of life and decay. Like the promo letter says, it's the symbolism is very strong here. And as such, I must say, I really enjoy it. But this is also an album among the black metal genre, that is, which could be seen as a kind of entry-level black metal. By that I mean, this is so melodic and so kind of easy to listen that it doesn't really, remind you of bands of like Marduk or Blasphemy and stuff like that. I mean, they are very, very far away from this, despite being roughly in the same genre. Bloem style is so much more kind of soothing that you could imagine people who are not into black metal actually listening to it way more than what the queen of black metal, muur, was doing with that stuff. Because this is kind of a very organic feeling what is going on here. The sound is a little bit lo-fi versus being kind of a high-end production, but not in the same way as of those, raw black metal albums. So in fact, it actually fits the music here very well. And after a few spins, I must say I really like this album. While I kind of hope it would be even more tapping to this melodic vein and, making this atmosphere even more kind of stronger, I must still say this is quite an enjoyable one. And I think despite of being kind of a light black metal or very melodic, I think that this deserves more listening. Because this is something that you don't find these days so often. I mean, so many times when a melodic black metal appears, it seems to be like carved from the very same stone. And they often are so overly melancholic that they start to resemble each other. Whereas this is something a little bit different. Like I said, this is more about this kind of a spring feeling. Sun shining, going up, and bringing Earth to life once again. But still also tapping that melancholic vein, which, in my opinion, makes a lot of sense with this music. Now, all this rambling said, I still think you should just click here and check out for the Bandcamp site, which I included in the description box. So you can just open the album here and start listening with these 5 tracks. With this information, I hope you give this one a chance, despite me giving you a little bit of a warning in quotation marks. And who knows, maybe you will enjoy it, maybe you won't. Tough cookie to crack, I guess. See you and take care.